My name is Sergeant Rachel Morgan, and for 8 years I proudly served my country in the United States Army. At 29 years old, I was stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, while maintaining a beautiful home back in my hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee. That house was my sanctuary, the place I dreamed of returning to after every deployment. My younger sister, Megan, was the one person I trusted most. She was 26, worked as a real estate agent, and had always been my biggest supporter. When I was deployed overseas, Megan offered to take care of my house, collect the mail, pay the bills, and keep everything maintained. I was so grateful. I even added her name to the house documents to make things easier for her. Before my last deployment to the Middle East, Megan hugged me tightly at the airport and said, "Don't worry about a thing, Rach. I've got your back. Just come home safe." Those words meant everything to me. I had built a good life. I had a promising military career, a loving sister, and a home that represented all my hard work and sacrifices. I dreamed of the day I would return, start a family, and finally put down roots. I trusted Megan completely with the one thing that mattered most to me, my future. I had no idea that while I was serving overseas, my own sister was quietly destroying everything I had built. While I was deployed, the warning signs were there, but I was too far away and too busy to see them clearly. Megan's updates became less frequent. At first, I thought she was just busy with work. When I asked about the house, she would send short replies like everything's fine or don't worry about it. Something felt off, but I pushed the feeling aside. I was leading a team in a high-stress environment. I didn't have the energy to overthink things back home. Then came the financial red flags. My bank account started showing unexpected withdrawals. When I asked Megan about it, she said she had to make some repairs on the house. The roof needed fixing, she told me. I trusted her. She was a real estate agent after all. The biggest warning sign came during a video call. I noticed some of my furniture was missing in the background. When I asked her about it, she laughed nervously and said, "Oh, I just moved some things around to stage the house better." I wanted to believe her, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. Even my commander, Colonel Hayes, noticed something was wrong during one of our check-ins. "Everything okay back home, Morgan?" he asked. I told him everything was fine. I ignored my instincts. I told myself that Megan would never hurt me. She was my sister, my only remaining family. But the truth was much worse than I could have imagined. The betrayal came through a phone call I'll never forget. I was halfway through my deployment when my phone rang. It was an unknown number with a local Knoxville area code. When I answered, a man introduced himself as Mr. Thompson, a real estate buyer. "Ma'am, I'm calling because I just purchased a house on Maplewood Drive. The seller was a woman named Megan. She said it was her property, but when I did a title search, your name is still on the deed. There seems to be some confusion." My heart stopped. I asked him to repeat the address. It was my house. I hung up the phone, my hands shaking. I immediately called Megan. She didn't answer. I called again and again until she finally picked up. "Rachel, I can explain," she started. "You sold my house?" I shouted, my voice cracking. There was a long silence. Then she sighed. "I needed the money, Rachel. You were gone for so long. I have debts." The house was just sitting there empty. "I thought you wouldn't mind." I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. She had forged documents. She had sold my house, the house I had worked so hard for, the house that held all my memories while I was serving overseas. She didn't even have the decency to tell me. In that moment, standing in the desert heat thousands of miles from home, I felt completely powerless and utterly betrayed. My own sister had stabbed me in the back. The weeks after that phone call were some of the darkest of my life. I was still deployed, thousands of miles away, completely powerless to stop what was happening. Every night I lay in my bunk thinking about my house, the place I had dreamed of returning to, now belonging to a stranger. The pain was suffocating. Megan stopped answering my calls. When she finally did, she was defensive and cold. "You were never going to live there anyway," she said. "You're always deployed." I did what I had to do. Her words cut deeper than any enemy fire. I felt completely alone. The one person I trusted most had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I started questioning everything: my judgment, my relationships, even my decision to serve. What was the point of sacrificing so much if the people I loved would stab me in the back? My performance at work began to slip. My commander, Colonel Hayes, noticed immediately. He pulled me aside one afternoon and asked what was going on. I broke down and told him everything. The isolation was crushing. I couldn't even go home to deal with it. I was stuck in the desert with nothing but my anger and heartbreak. I had lost my home, my trust in family, and nearly my sense of purpose. But something inside me, the soldier who had faced real danger, refused to stay broken. Colonel Hayes refused to let me face this alone. A few days after I told him what happened, he came to me with a serious expression. "Morgan, we're going to fix this. But first, you need to know the full truth." What he helped uncover was worse than I imagined. Through military legal channels and a private investigator, we discovered that Megan had been planning this for over a year. She had forged my signature on multiple documents, including a power of attorney. She had also been using my deployment status to claim I had abandoned the property. But the biggest twist came from my bank records. Megan hadn't just sold the house for her debts. She had been living a secret life: luxury shopping, trips, and even a new boyfriend, all funded by selling off my belongings and eventually the house itself. Colonel Hayes looked at me and said, "This isn't just theft, Sergeant. This is fraud. And we're not letting her get away with it." For the first time since the phone call, I felt something stronger than pain. I felt fury, and with the Colonel's support and the full resources of the military legal system behind me, I finally had the power to fight back. My sister thought she could destroy me while I was serving. She was about to learn how wrong she was. With Colonel Hayes' full support, I began building my case like a military operation. We gathered every piece of evidence: forged documents, bank records, communication logs, and witness statements. The military's legal team got involved because the fraud occurred while I was on active duty. They treated it as a serious matter. My plan was methodical and professional. I wasn't going to scream or make emotional scenes. I was going to destroy her case with facts and evidence. While the legal process moved forward, I focused on myself. I threw myself into my duties with renewed purpose. I trained harder, read more, and started writing down my thoughts every night. The soldier in me was waking up again. Colonel Hayes became more than a commander. He became a mentor and father figure. He told me, "Morgan, you've sacrificed enough for this country. Now it's time to fight for yourself." Every time doubt crept in, I remembered the moment I learned my sister sold my house. That memory became fuel. The revenge wasn't going to be loud. It was going to be legal, calculated, and complete. Megan thought she could betray me while I was serving overseas. She had no idea what was coming. The court hearing was intense from the moment it began. Megan sat across from me looking nervous for the first time. She had hired a lawyer who tried to paint me as an absent sister who abandoned the property. But that narrative fell apart quickly. My military lawyer presented the evidence one piece at a time. the forged signatures, the bank transfers, the timeline that proved Megan sold the house while I was actively serving. Colonel Hayes even testified on my behalf, speaking about my character and dedication to duty. The judge's expression grew darker with every new document. When it was my turn to speak, I looked directly at Megan and said, "You sold my house while I was serving our country. You betrayed me when I trusted you the most. I hope it was worth it." Megan couldn't even look at me. For the first time, she seemed to realize the gravity of what she had done. The judge ruled strongly in my favor. He ordered the sale of the house reversed where possible, awarded me full damages, and recommended criminal charges for fraud. Megan was also ordered to pay all my legal fees and compensation for the emotional distress. As we left the courtroom, Megan tried to speak to me. "Rachel, please, I was desperate." I stopped, looked at her, and said calmly, "You weren't desperate. You were greedy. And now you're paying for it." Colonel Hayes stood beside me like a proud father as we walked out. The months after the court ruling brought a deep sense of justice and renewal. I was able to recover a significant portion of what Megan had taken. With the compensation, I bought a new home smaller but completely mine. It became my sanctuary, a place where I could finally breathe again. Megan faced legal consequences for the fraud. Our relationship is severed. The last time we spoke, I told her I needed space, maybe forever. Some betrayals are too deep to forgive. Colonel Hayes continued to mentor me. He even helped me apply for a promotion, which I received. His support reminded me that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who stand by you when it matters most. I've since reconnected with old friends and started dating again. This time I choose honesty and loyalty above everything else. I'm also mentoring young female soldiers, sharing my story to help them protect themselves. Most importantly, I've healed. I no longer carry the weight of betrayal every day. I've learned to trust my instincts and value my own strength. The greatest lesson I learned from this painful journey is this: never trust someone so much that you ignore your own instincts. My sister betrayed me at a time when I was sacrificing for our country. She sold my home while I was serving. But that betrayal led me to discover my own power and the true meaning of family. To anyone going through betrayal right now, especially while serving or going through hardship, your value is not determined by who abandons you. It is determined by how you rise after they do. I lost my sister, but I found myself stronger, wiser, and unbreakable. And that victory is sweeter than any revenge.